Hello everyone, and welcome to the Super Sami Roll Any percent guide. I am Osu, also known as BigBenno37 on the speedrun.com leaderboards. And without further ado, let's go and jump right into the Any percent route and how it all works. This video is going to be largely unscripted, so I might repeat some things, I might mess up some different tricks and stuff, but for the Any percent route, you're always going to want to go with relaxed mode. The key difference between this and normal is there's no time limit in relaxed. And because the speedrun.com leaderboards don't make a distinction between relaxed and normal for the Any percent route, that's what we go for. Less the not having time limits means we don't have to worry about as much. There are some levels where that time limit does make a big difference, but we're not going to really discuss that too much because we're going to run in relaxed mode. We're going to skip past this by spamming Y or whatever button you have on your controller. I'm using an Xbox controller, as you can see in the layout in the bottom right. I would encourage you to keep an eye on this as I go through the levels and you rewatch to see how I do certain levels. In particular, keep an eye out for how I move around my analog sticks. There are some times where I might, for instance, want to get a bit higher of a jump. So if I jump towards here, I might hold backwards to get myself just a little bit higher up to reach certain areas. Before continuing, I just want to say that this guide is intended for people who have already finished the Sami campaign. I'm not going to touch on the Vera campaign, so don't worry about that. And by the end of the campaign, you know most of the movement tricks and techniques, but there are a few subtle techniques that are important in the run. And so one of those is what I like to call gravity reduction or gravity reduce. That's done by holding down the jump button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grapple hop to the right over here, and I'm not going to hold down the jump button. As you can see, that's how fast I fell. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the exact same thing, but this time hold down the jump button. Notice how much slower I fell there. This is what I like to think as gravity reduction. And this technique is very useful in a number of different stages where you want Sami to be in the air for a little bit longer to reach a bit of a further distance than would otherwise be possible. The other technique that I'm going to be using in the speedrun a fair amount is what I like to call the shallow ground pound. Now, you're probably well aware of the regular ground pound, which is just when you jump and you hit the, well, for me it's B, but whatever the ground pound button is for you on your controller. And Sami will kind of go towards the ground and jump back up. Now, if you delay pressing the ground pound button until you're just above the ground, you'll actually gain a further vertical distance. Notice how much higher Sami went there as compared to here. I'll do it again, the shallow ground pound. This is a significant vertical difference, and we will be making full use of this in some of the later levels, and I'll make sure to call it out when I do use the shallow ground pounds. There is one more technique that I will be using in World 3, and for context, I will be referring to levels in this guide as like 1-2, 4-4, 3-5, and that just means World 3, Level 5, or so on and so forth. So in World 3, there is a level, I believe it's 3-7, where you have to use something called a tongue offset. This is basically where Sami's tongue is actually offset above his head. So the way you do this is by ground pounding and then very quickly pressing the grapple button. As you can see there, I'll probably slow it down a little bit in the edited video, but Sami's tongue actually went above his head, and this gives us a little bit of extra vertical height. 3-7 or whatever level it is pretty much the only time we actively make use of it, but I just wanted to highlight it as something that is available, and it does allow you to grapple onto things that would otherwise be impossible. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started with 1-1, that is World 1, Level 1. Finishing this level is simply you jump, grapple behind you, and you reach the owl. Pretty easy peasy. Not too difficult. But in this world map area, to go from one world to the other, like when you've just finished and you're waiting for the map to load, hold down the direction that you want Sammy to go and spam the A button or the equivalent on your controller. That'll ensure that you load up the world as quickly as possible. When you're in the screen, you want to be spamming the B button or equivalent to skip past the introduction and all of that sort of stuff. Now, before we continue here, there is another mechanic that I want to highlight. When you are dealing with balloons, you'll notice that when you jump onto them, Sammy gets a bit of height. If you hold down the jump button to gravity reduce, Sammy gets a lot of airtime, like tremendous amounts. As you can see in my controller layout, I'm not even pressing the A button, I'm just holding it down, and you get just so much airtime. This isn't applicable to this particular level in the any percent route, but it will come up in a future level. Anyway, to do the any percent route here is you come along, ground pound, jump onto here, want to go forward a little bit, and you want to ground pound the balloon to get to the end over here. I will go for a slightly more efficient route. The angle is a little precise on the balloon, but you can get to the end very quickly there. There we go. That's a bit of a better bounce. So that just requires a bit of playing around, getting familiar with the different angles you can go with. Onwards to 1-3. This is another pretty simple level. I will highlight one extra mechanic, which you've probably experienced in your own Sammy playthrough. It's what I like to call a edge boost. It's where you kind of get to the end, you get to the edge of a platform or whatever, and instead of like a regular jump, Sammy goes just a little bit faster. And so we're going to use this here in this level to get Sammy just a little bit of extra speed here. And we're going to head straight towards the owl, and that's the route that we take here. There is another mechanic known as edge bouncing, which I will show you in this upcoming level. So another mechanic I just wanted to outline, you've probably seen this in your own playthrough, but when Sammy is in the air, there is that little dot below him. And that little dot is very nice for kind of seeing where you are on the ground compared to where you are in the air. So here we want to come up onto the railing, jump off with an edge boost. Here's the edge bounce. As you can see there, I ground pounded against the edge here to get myself a little bit of extra speed. That way I can get up here a little bit faster. Over here, I'm going to gravity reduce so that I can make this jump over here. All right, so the other strategy is we're going to come across, we're going to continue to gravity reduce, and we're going to ground pound that area while still using gravity reduction. But afterwards, you want to ground pound at that area, come across here, ground pound to get up without having to wall hop. And what you want to do is, once you get to this top area, I'm going to come back down because I messed it up. You want to ground pound, come up, and you want to hold down the jump button to keep gravity reduction on, come across, and the idea is you kind of come across, hit that to get the full speed towards the owl. So that's 1-4. Let's move on. I'm going to come backwards over here, grapple hop over to there, and just make a couple of grapple hops. Moving backwards, get a little bit more speed here, jump forward, hit the owl, and that's the level. Now, this one is definitely a bit tricky. What we're aiming for here is to get an edge bounce off the side to reach the other side near the owl and skip a whole bunch of the level. So I made it look quite easy there, but it definitely takes a bit of practice to figure out the precise spacing and everything. The alternate strategy is to kind of hit this corner edge over here and bounce all the way to the end. So there we go. That's an example of that corner boost. It's definitely tricky. I would recommend the first approach, but in either case, it's going to be just some, you're going to need to spend some time with that level. But anyway, moving on, we want to grapple across with the bird, come across over to this checkpoint egg. We want to hop on top of this, come down, grapple across this little ramp, and then very quickly ground pound onto the start of that ramp to hit the bird. If you ground pound too late, you'll go over the bird, so just be aware of that. Gonna come down to 1-8. Here you want to go straight. Just keep going through, come across, and then when you get over here, you want to ground pound, and you want to make sure you're holding towards this wall over here. So Sammy kind of holds on and slides downwards. And so I'm going to repeat what I did. I'm going to ground pound. I'm going to grab onto the wall, cling, come back up to get a bit more height. Then I'm going to grapple onto there and come across the left to grab the owl. And that's this level done. Now we are at a fork in the road. We're going to take the right approach to 1-10. We're going to jump across over here. And before I continue, you'll notice that there's a egg checkpoint. You'll notice that it activates even though I've jumped well below it. We're going to take full use of that. But what we are also going to do is hold down the jump button to gravity reduce before going onto this speed boost. That allows us to get up to this section where we just kind of come across, and it's a nice, easy run to the owl. Going to come down to 1-11 here. Here we're going to try and make use of the shallow ground pound to get enough height to make it up to that platform. And from there, just a simple case of making your way to the owl and you are done. Now, it can be a little tricky to make it to that platform. Try and get as close as possible to the corner of that original platform. But yeah, just play around. If need be, rewind this video to see how I did it. You can also watch other any percent playthroughs. But without further ado, let's get on to 1-12. This one's actually very easy. All you need to do is ground pound to the other side. I say it's very easy and fail on my first attempts. Let's try it again. Still not getting it. Let's try it a third time. There we go. So there's a little dimple there that you need to try and aim for. So I'll do it again. The dimple is this little one over here that Sammy's in right now. You want to try and hit that, or gravity, well, just holding down the jump button so you get a bit more time in the air. You want to use the circle on the ground to kind of align yourself so that you can just do this. And then we are grapple hopping from there to get to the owl. And yeah, nice, simple little level. Unfortunately, this next one isn't quite as simple. There's two different approaches. The standard approach is to come around this palm tree, grapple onto this rock, and the idea is to grapple onto those support beams and kind of pull yourself upwards. Kind of like this. Now, if you watch back the video, you'll notice there that I grappled and I held backward as I came upwards. That was just to get myself a little bit extra height. But after you're up onto the platform, you skip that first beam, go to the next one, and you've made it to the owl. Now, the alternative, which I've been experimenting with, is to do this. You kind of come to the side, get the rock, grapple onto this platform, and then you simply come across. Now, when you are grappling to that rock, you need to change your momentum. I found to kind of face towards the platform, and afterwards just kind of grapple onto it. So play around with both of those methods. There's about a second difference between the two, so it's not huge because we are talking, you know, a 40-50 minute run. See which one works for you, and yeah. Going on to 1-14. This one isn't too bad. We're going to come across, grapple across there, come up, avoid the black ink puddle. Now we are going to avoid both of these. We can just grapple straight across. We're going to use this rock to get just a little bit of extra height so that we don't have to wall hop and waste any time. And there we go. That's the route. Now, the next level is going to be our first Albert boss level. We are going to avoid most of this tower. We are going to come across, we are going to ground pound first up. Come onto here. Whoops. Going to ground pound again to get a little bit extra height. And we are simply going to climb this tower all the way to the top and just avoid 90% of the parkour needed. Now, don't worry about spamming any of the buttons to skip that cutscene. It's not skippable, so just kind of sit back and wait for Albert to get into his car. And the route from here is pretty much the same as the casual route. The safe approach is to just, as you can see, do his missiles one at a time. There is a slightly better route, which you will see in some of the community's 80% playthroughs, where when you fire the second missile, when Albert fires the second missile, you kind of lead the missile away and wait until Albert fires the third missile, and the idea then is you hit Albert with the second missile, and then very quickly hit him again with the third missile. Now, this one's definitely a bit of a tricky one. I've yet to fully master it myself, but when you beat Albert at any stage, you always want to spam that Y button and hold to the right to immediately get to the next level. Now over here, we grapple onto this, we position our camera like so, and we use a ground pound at that spot to get us over to this side. It may look a bit tricky, but with a bit of practice, you'll get the hang of it. Now over here, you want to kind of get towards the top, not too far up. You can get hit by those spikes, but at a good height, you want to jump out and then grapple backwards. You don't want to jump out a little bit and then try and grapple back. You'll absolutely get hit by the spikes. You want to really jump out a distance and then grapple hop back in towards the owl. Next level is definitely a tricky one. There are two pretty different routes. We'll go with the easier but a little bit more, a bit slower of a route. What we're going to do is we're going to come over here. I'm going to try and avoid the sand as much as possible from slowing us down. Come across. Once again, we're going to jump across. Going to edge boost our way over to here. Gonna hop onto these circular platforms, come around. Now we are going to avoid getting into the pipe because it's very slow. We're going to just simply jump across. Gonna make our way over to here, and you'll notice that the owl is right here, and that's the level done. Now, let's go for the second approach, which is a lot more mechanically difficult. So the first thing you need to do is come onto this main area, jump across to the other side here. What I like to do is to kind of go up a bit, then take Sammy to the right, where the circle kind of hovers a little bit over the edge. Should give him enough momentum to get over to the right. As you can see, it is definitely a little bit tricky. Let me see if I can get it this attempt. There we go. It'll take some trial and effort. This next part is the more tricky part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grapple onto that beam. I'm going to swing across and on the pipe, I'm going to notice where my circle is on the ground. I'm going to try and wait until it's just at the end of the topmost pipe. And at that point, I'm going to ground pound. Unfortunately, I missed it right then. That I had it, but something hit me over there. There we go. And that's what it looks like when you successfully hit it. And so you'll notice that as I approach these two pillars, I grappled to the left to get my momentum to go towards the owl and just grappled the rest of the way to get to the owl. Now, the pipe section is quite difficult, so unless you're trying to save a bit of time, I would recommend as a beginner to stay to that initial strategy. It's nice, it's consistent, it's not too hard. And once you've gotten quite familiar with the any percent run, that's when you can come back and start practicing that more advanced route. Let's go over to 2-3. Over here, you're going to want to jump, grapple onto here to get out of the sand as quickly as possible, ground pound to make it over to here. Up here, go straight forward, and we're going to enter this pipe. We're hoping for some edge boosts over here. Didn't quite make one there, but that's fine. Now over here, we don't want to be rolling on the beams the entire way. We want to just be skipping as much of it as possible. We're going to hit that button with a bit of momentum so that we get bounced backwards. We're going to come over to here, and when we make it over to here, as we're falling, what I like to do is to try and angle my stick so that it lands into this pipe and I can grapple into it immediately. So I'm trying to do something, not like that. Let me try again. So yeah, if I'm coming like this, I'm trying to angle my control stick or my directional stick so that it lands in the pipe and I can immediately grapple into it. But that's the stage done. With that final part, you want to just kind of roll, grapple onto the first beam, go to the next one, and then you're golden. Got another fork in the road. We want to go to the right over here to 2-4. Just saves a little bit of time over the other alternative. Now there's only really one important jump here, which is over here. You want to wall hop down in the clouds, then grapple onto the cannon, make your way over to the owl, and that's about it. It is possible to not make the jump, which does eat up a bit of time, but the level is otherwise pretty simple. We're going to go on to 2-6, which is pretty infamous in one of the popular community members in the scene, S&C. A lot of his community kind of reveres this level for a particular cactus jump, which I will be demonstrating. We're going to be following this route over here. Come along. Going to try and jump between the cactus and that energy beam. We'll turn around and we are going to try and make a jump towards this cactus. Unfortunately, I didn't quite make that cactus. We are going to try again. As I said, it is fairly tricky to hit. We managed to grab it there. Ooh, and I unfortunately stumbled onto, well, out of the speed boosts. Let's try it again. What I like to do there is with the speed boosts, I go onto the first one, which sends me straight. Another one takes me to the right. And then with the final speed boost that sends outwards, I like to hold my directional stick upwards to give myself enough speed. I've noticed that if I don't do that, I sometimes fall short of this upcoming platform. So just be aware of that. And all you have to do is just carefully make your way through the snakes and you've gotten to the owl. Now, there is a backup strategy if you want to avoid the cactus jump. Alternatively, if you fail the cactus jump, this backup strategy is a lot safer if you're not confident that you'll make the cactus jump. What we're going to do here is instead of going towards the cactus, we're going to jump this way. Try not to get eaten by the snake. We'll jump onto these little platforms. We're going to jump onto this rock. Then we're going to try and make our way up here. I'm going to make my way back across this rock and then back onto it. Once again, if you'll go back, rewind a little bit, you'll notice that I was a little bit short of making it on. So I grappled, held backwards on the directional stick to make it onto this area. I'm going to hop across, grapple jump, ground pound onto that first speed boost, and the rest of this is exactly the same. You don't want to go too fast across that platform there because the snakes will hit you, and if that happens, you'll have to start all the way before the cactus jump. Now we'll move onwards to 2-7. Now over here, What we want to do is we want to grapple onto the bird, then grapple onto the tree. The tree grapple doesn't always work. Afterwards, you want to try and make your way up here. Be a little tricky to hit. And once you're over here, you want to hop into the teleporter, wait for Sami to slide down a little bit, and make your way to the owl. All right, let's move onwards. Okay, on to 2-8. What we're going to do here is move forward a little bit, ground pound. I'm going to try and hit the edge here. Grapple, ground pound, come up here. And now you'll notice that these bumpers are moving. The idea here is we want to hit the bumper at just the right spot so that it sends us towards that bumper off in the distance. So let's wait. Let's go for it. And just like that, we are going to ground pound the head off to here. With that speed boost again, I like to hold towards the direction that it's boosting you. Come over here. Come over here. Grab this. Once again, ground pound to get over to these to this area. Now from here, there's two alternate approaches. I'm going to take the safe approach, which does eat up a little bit of time, but all you have to do is just roll on the ground, so it's very, very safe. I will show you the alternate approach in a sec. Okay, so the alternate approach is to instead jump off here, grapple onto one of those bumpers, and make your way to the owl. This saves a lot of time, but it is definitely a riskier approach. So I would suggest sticking with the safer approach until you really need to save some time. Let's go onwards to 2-9. You're going to immediately ground pound to get up here. Going to jump across, jump again. Now we are going to jump to this egg. It's slightly more optimal to jump towards here, but for newcomers, to avoid stuff like that happening, I recommend going for the egg just as a backup measure. And you're going to want to avoid these cannonballs. Afterwards, you want to jump this direction, try and avoid that blade, jump onto this platform, then come across, and you're at the owl. And that's it. Afterwards, we're going to go to 2-10. This one's definitely a bit of a tricky level, and it depends on how you start over here. So the idea is you want to jump and try and edge bounce off here. Let's try and get one. So once you're off here, you want to jump through these different obstacles. A lot of this is just a lot of trial and error and getting a feel for the different obstacles in the way. And because there's so many different obstacles and different ways that enemies and things can happen, I'd recommend just playing this level a bunch, getting used to how to avoid these different enemies and how to avoid losing speed. But that's the general idea. You just have to get from point A to point B over here. Gonna go straight down. Now we're going to go to the left over here. We're going to use a shallow ground pound and make our way over the railing. If you don't make it over the railing, you can simply just wall hop and make it back on. But if you rewind the video, you'll once again notice that I kind of held against the direction I was trying to go just to get myself a little bit of extra height. Now we jump over here. We're trying to make it onto that railing. Unfortunately, I messed up, so I'll try that again. Yeah, so over here, I want to kind of come across, jump. Not like that. Let's try it again for a third time. Jump. There we go. So that's what you want. You don't want to wall hop. You want to just get a clean, nice jump over. Now that area right there, depending on when you jump, you might get sent super high up or you might make it clean across like I did. If you do get sent straight up, I'd recommend seeing where you are with your white circle on the ground, and when you're close to the owl, going for a ground pound. Okay, let's go on to 2-12. So for this one, what I recommend for newcomers is to avoid the weapons by taking this route. Then try and grapple onto the Sphinx at the end. Okay, let's try that again. Now we want to try and make our way over to here. Grab onto this. You want to not let go too early. You want to kind of be right at the top there so that you have enough enough of a height to reach the other side. But that's the level in a nutshell. It's a little bit tricky, but from here we want to go straight up from the fork into 2-13. Now from here we want to come across, go to the right, ground pound, grab onto here. Now here we want to intentionally hit that snake so that we get a bit of a bounce. Then we want to grapple our way to the owl, and just like that we're done. From here, we are going to go to 2-15, which is another one of Albert's boss stages. Here we want to initially ground pound. Now we just want to climb the tower just like this. Oh, hit the top. Let's just slide down a little bit, and let's head to the boss arena. Albert's going to come down with another one of his mechs. Obviously a very fabulously wealthy guy. This boss is fairly predictable, pretty consistent, which is the more important part. We want to try and get him as close to the center as possible. And after 2 of his swing attacks, he's going to unleash some of his bombs. This isn't too bad of a configuration, honestly. And you just basically want to lead him towards these mines. When he goes to hit you, you want to kind of jump, ground pound, and then hit him. Just having a bit of a struggle actually hitting him there. Let's try and do a little bit better this time. There we go. And that's Albert taken care of nice and simply. You're going to want to spam the Y button again, hold down right, and then spam the A button to get onto the next level as quickly as possible. Over here, we want to, what is it? Edge bounce, so that we get that extra speed. Anyway. Oh, once we make it across here, we want to jump straight across. Come over to this little guy, and then we want to be boosted over to the other side over here. Now, there's all sorts of different ways that you can end up over there. So maybe Sammy will climb up, or maybe you'll have to tongue grapple to just experiment a little bit over there. But once you're across, you want to kind of weave your way through these guys, moving their big snowball, and get to the owl at the end. From here, we're going to go on to 3-2. From here, we want to immediately go to the right, get onto this speed boost. Oh, let's try that again. We're going to go immediately over here. Head to the right, then climb this as quick as you can. Head across these ice blocks over here. Now we want to grapple towards this igloo, try and hit the very edge of it to get a bunch of speed. Then we want to jump, ground pound to get us a bunch of speed, and then we really just want to climb these. Let's try it again, what it should really look like. There we go. And kind of come across, and then up to the owl. And that's the route. Now, when it comes to hitting the igloo, I find that getting that nice, fast rolling speed requires you to hit the igloo. You might be tempted to ground pound a little bit too early, and you'll notice that because you won't actually go into that roll. You'll rather be sent like straight down. Really want to like wait until the last second to ground pound that igloo. Now, we've got another fork in the road. We're going to head to the right over here to 3-4. What we're going to do here is we're going to head on this jump. And as we pass through the ring, we're going to hold down the jump button so that we can gravity reduce over here and make it very cleanly over the balloons. We're going to hold left, ground pound, and make it up over here. Now, over here is where jumping on balloons matters. So I'm going to ground pound that balloon to make it up. Up here, I'm going to try and bounce all the way to the end. And over here, I'm going to aim for this yellow balloon. I'm going to try and jump on it. I'm going to jump over here and make our way to the owl. And that's the route. We're going to go straight down in the world map to 3-5. Over here, you want to grapple immediately. Make your way past these dudes. And over here, we want to head to the left. You want to be heading just directly to the left as much as possible. You want to avoid wall hopping where possible. It's just a little bit slower. Keep going up this direction. I'm going to see... Yep. Just waiting for that cannonball to go. And then we make our way into this pipe. And once we're out of this pipe, we are going to immediately grapple hop again. Going for a nice ground pound over there. Going to grapple these enemies. And then make our way over here. And try to grapple immediately into this pipe. Now over here, we are going to ground pound immediately. And then shallow ground pound to get even more height. So that we can make it to the top over here. Going to jump, ground pound again to get up here. And just jump between these enemies. And make it to the owl. And with that, let's move on to the next level. This one's definitely a little bit tricky at first, but I found a fairly consistent route. So the way I like to do this is I'll jump, try and get to the top, slide down a little bit, then jump again. If you jump too quickly after grappling near the top of the spikes, you'll hit them when you jump again. So what you want to do is you want to grapple, then slide down a little bit and just rinse and repeat until you reach to the top of the tower. And that's this level done. Going to go upwards to 3-7. This is the stage I was talking about involving the tongue offset. So there's two major routes here. I'm going to tell you about how the tongue grapple, or the tongue offset works here. This is also known as the backup strat. We're going to come across, we're going to tongue offset, ground pound again, make our way up here. And from this point onwards, the two methods converge. So I'll just show you how the rest of the level works. And once I'm done, I will demonstrate how the faster but riskier option works. I'm going to wait for this other swing to come back. I'm going to jump onto here. Oh, a little bit dicey here. But we'll make it across to the owl. Just try and make that jump cleanly, not like what I did. But let's try again with the other approach. So over here, what you want to do is effectively ground pound such that your upwards momentum kind of takes you over one of these bumpers. I'm going to come down, going to jump, ground pound, then ground pound up here. Unfortunately, I missed the grapple over there, so we're going to try again. There we go. And then from here, the rest of it is just the same. So I'm going to skip onto the next level. For that particular stage, I would suggest trying to learn the faster approach. But if that fails after a couple of attempts in your actual any percent run, I would suggest going for the backup strat. I'm going to go to 3-8. The key here is... sorry, I thought this was a different stage. No, 3-8 is a bit of a killer because there's not much you can do. There's a lot of waiting here. We are going to stay at the top of this platform to avoid that bird. And we're going to wait for 2 rotations. After this, we're going to head down to this monster. Trying to head straight across. Grappling onto that. Go from here to here. And we want to grapple onto this bird. Grapple onto that bird. This bird. And then finally this platform over here. Immediately retry so that we can get the platform all the way up here. Now up here, we want to position ourselves in the top right. We can, of course, position ourselves in like the center and just kind of jump over the spikes. But I find it's better to just position yourself on the platform. And that way there's no risk of anything going wrong. Up here, we want to position ourselves in the top left. And after that second rotation, we are very safe. So we are going to head straight back down to the center. At this point is where a lot of community members will, if they're running in some sort of event, they'll say donation time because there's not much really happening here. This particular stage is a killer because if you mess up, that often results in 30-second losses or more. After that second top bird, we can head over to the owl, and that's the level complete. I'm going to head across to 3-9. So the key here is there's this rock in the center. You want to try and grapple in front of it, then immediately ground pound to send you up. You can see the first rock in the distance. You want to go to the second rock. So I'm going to try and do that here. Didn't get it. So if that happens, you come across to this rock, make your way to the second rock. So I'll just demonstrate how the slower method works. And then instead of going for that third rock, we want to immediately come over here using some edge boosts. And we want to come up here, activate the egg, make some edge boost jumps. Follow this wooden bridge, just patiently wait, jump across, and then make your way behind this. Go across, and hopefully we'll make it to the owl. Nope. Oh, we did make it to the owl. That's very funny. But ideally, you just kind of jump across and hit the owl. So let's try again for the slightly better approach. Okay, there we go. Managed to finally hit it. It's definitely quite finicky, but all this allows you to do is to get to this rock cycle earlier. And by cycle, I just mean the wind coming through, basically. So when you're starting off in this stage, you can very well just kind of ignore that rock bounce and just go straight for the first rock, then the second rock, and follow the route. Now we have a fork in the road. We are going to go right to Toxicity City, 3-10. Going to jump onto this button, come across, going to jump onto this button, turn ourselves around, and we are going to make a big jump over to this pillar and head to the owl. And that's it. We are going to head straight down to 3-12. This level is definitely a bit tricky, but you want to jump across here, try and get an edge boost onto these purple platforms. Jump up, come across here. Jump across. You want to stay to the edge away from the penguins as much as possible. Give them a wide berth. Jump across. And then you want to come across, try and get as much momentum as you can. Grapple hop across those and just wait. And then over here, just give a good full spin. Over here, ground pound to get a bunch of extra speed. Come across, try and hit this corner. Once we get across here, we want to bounce, and over here, we want to reset our momentum. Try and hit these different platforms, or these icebergs rather. Make our way over to the right. Go 1, 2, 3, and then make a big jump towards this pillar. And there we go. It can get a little bit tricky if you mess up in this second half of the level, so I'll demonstrate what that looks like. That right there is considered the early cycle. where you get enough speed to make it onto the blue platforms. Okay, so let's say you mess up and you have to retry from this checkpoint. I'll demonstrate what that looks like. All right, so we are going to go straight forward. We are going to grab this, grab this, grab this, spin around. Then, of course, do a ground pound, come across here. Now, the difference is ultimately over here because the icebergs have not had much time to spawn yet. You'll need to do your best to try and get on, which I messed up there. Okay, so we come across, you want to jump. Unfortunately, I got sent a little bit to the side, but ultimately, it's just the icebergs have not formed right at the end there, which makes things a little bit trickier. Otherwise, the rest of the route is exactly the same. But yeah, that was a little bit ambitious what I just tried to do. But let's go to the next level. We are going to head on to 3-13 with a couple of different approaches you can take at the start. I'll demonstrate them now. You want to just jump across. Now over here, I'm going to keep going forward. And as I do, I'm going to wait for Sami to kind of bounce against the ground. When that happens, I'm going to hit the ground pound button. And that'll get us a bunch of speed. Not like that. Let's try it again. There we go. Now, the first approach is to kind of come across here, make our way upwards onto this area. Not do that. We want to actually grab onto this thing, and that'll introduce us to this area. Now, I'm going to show you an alternate approach to getting up there, which is just a little bit faster. So now, instead of climbing all the way up, what you can do is instead grapple directly onto here. So those are two pretty similar options. I'm going to show you a third option, which is quite different. Okay, so same thing as normal. We grapple onto here, but instead, notice how you can actually see the area that we end up at. We are going to get boosted, grapple into this area. Unfortunately, didn't make it that time, but try it again. Okay, there we go. Made it that time. So that's the alternate approach. Afterwards, which regardless of which choice you make, you want to come along this little icy beam. Now this, I'm making it look easy here, but there's definitely a lot of finesse that goes into it. You want to grapple just on the edge of these, and you want to make yourself, make your way onto here to grapple across. You're really looking for this second one so that you can get enough speed to get onto here. You want to take this leftmost beam and then make your way upwards. I'll see if I can make it across. I can. Then you want to jump across. I'm going to ground pound here to not have to bother with any of that. Go past these snowballs, and there we go. We made it to the owl. Going to go to 3-14, which is a very different kind of stage. Not really icy at all. In the casual run of this is kind of a pain with the ghosts following you all the time. We are going to avoid that fairly soon, as you'll see, just following the routing. Ooh. Unfortunately, didn't make that grapple jump. Try again. And across here. And then across these two. And as soon as that egg registers, we are going to retry and completely avoid the ghost girl now. We are going to ghost the ghost. Now over here, you want to come across to the right as much as possible. Try and follow all the way through into this red jump. You want to come across these wooden platforms. Come down here. Then make your way onto the speed boost. First hitting this orange button. Then ground pounding on this orange button. Then shallow ground pounding so that you can make your way straight up to reach the owl. Now, the reason we grapple hopped to the right is to get us just a little bit of extra height so that we can then grapple hop to the left to reach the owl on the green mushroom. We are now going to another Albert boss level. So that once again means we're going to skip 90% of the actual tower. Instead of ground pounding there, we are actually just going to run straight off. Going to go straight up. You want to land straight on this button, go through the hole, then climb straight up, land onto the arena, and there we go. Now Albert's going to come down with another one of his mechs. Okay, so in this mech, Albert's just going to be hovering around. You want to stay directly underneath him in case he does that, which is his blue laser attack. He'll also come down. At that point, you want to, if you're underneath him, you kind of want to jump underneath him to immediately attack. Or you want to do what I did and just kind of grapple. He does have a third attack, which is a missile attack, which I'm hoping he'll show off. I guess not. Maybe this time. Okay, he's really insisted on using the laser, it seems. Missed that, unfortunately, but a third attack will do the job. If he does do the missile attack, you just kind of go around in circles and avoid them. It's not too bad. Going to 4-1. This can be a little bit finicky. We want to jump across, avoid the Shadow of the Dragon so that they don't land on us. Want to jump across with enough momentum to get across. And over here, we want to get a lot of speed so that we can jump across, get the bony fence, and land on the owl. Now, there will be a fork in the road here. We want to go straight up to 4-3. And immediately we want to jump and ground pound, grabbing this central beam. We want to come across, dodge the speed boost. We actually don't want to have any extra speed at this point. We want to come across. And then right in the corner over here, we want to ground pound. Fortunately, didn't get that ground pound, but we'll try again. Okay, let's give it another shot. So we jump across, jump across again, ground pound. We're trying to aim for that orange pillar so that we can grapple hop and get to the owl. Just like that, the level is done. You want to go to the right over here to 4-4. And this is where something called damage boosting is going to come in. So what I want to highlight is if Sammy gets hit by a hitbox, he'll get sent up. But if Sammy is hit by multiple hitboxes at the same time, he'll get hit up way higher. Because multiple hitboxes act on him simultaneously. So if we come here and we kind of angle our circle there, as you can see, Sammy got hit by 4 different hitboxes at the same time. And so he got sent sky high. And that's actually what we want here. After you dodge those lightning thingamajigs, we come across the pipe. You want to edge boost and then grapple onto the side here so that we can then jump across. And you don't want to get hit by the laser. That's a little bit unfortunate. It means I'll have to get back there. One thing I wanted to mention is it's actually technically ideal to get hit by 3 spikes there, not 4. But it's very difficult to control how many spikes hit you at once. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Now we grapple over here just to ensure that we slide down just a little bit. But yeah, over here, we just grapple over the top of those lightning platforms and we reach the owl. And that's the level. Now we want to go to the right again to 4-5. And over here, you want to wait for the spinning to happen. And then you just kind of want to follow it over here, go around, and then you're just going to grapple hop all the way to the top, come across. Going to jump to this platform, then ground pound. Then we're going to get up to this balloon. Our target is that green balloon over there. So let's see if we can get there. Not quite. Tried again. Let's do it. Just barely made it. And then we are going to ground pound the top of the balloon to make it to the owl. So again, with the balloons, it's just a matter of practicing getting that precise angle. From here, we are going to go straight down to Trial by Fire. We are going to jump get across to this central area, and then from here we are going to climb all the way to the top. And then over here, you want to ground pound on that edge. It's not particularly precise. It doesn't matter exactly where you end up. You're going to big bounce either way. So now you want to go directly towards the camera, and you want to climb up until you see this cliff face that you can see right here. Once that happens, you can simply jump off and wall hop onto this platform where the owl is. And that's the level. Now we have another fork in the road. We are going to go downwards this time to 4-7. Here we're going to go straight across, going to the right, doing your best to avoid the blades. Now here you want to kind of bounce on that very end so that we get sent up towards this red thingamajig. The trick here is you want to bounce out pretty far and then grapple towards that metal beam, then grapple, jump out of the grapple as quickly as possible, then grapple onto this platform where I'm standing. You can rewind the video if you want to see how I did it again, but that's the theory. Afterwards, you want to just jump towards these. Unfortunately, I mess it up, so I will have to try that again. Okay, here we go. We've made it to these beams this time. We're just going to go around. That's really unfortunate, but we managed to recover. Ideally, you don't get hit by any of those bumpers, and you just simply jump across, go between the different blades, try your best to not get hit, and head towards the owl. And that's the level. I'm going to head to the right to 4-9. Here we're going to make a lot of grapple hops to get across. Jump to make it over here. Going to make a big jump at the end over here. Trying to hit the corner over there with a ground pound again. And making our way onto the top. We're going to make another ground pound, trying to make a grapple hop to that platform. Unfortunately, didn't quite make it, so we are going to try again. Made it that time. Afterwards, we want to make it over here and simply grapple hop our way across. Now, our direction over here is to head straight forward. Jump across here, jump, jump, hit that, and our target is this. You can simply jump across, and what I like to do here is not that. Okay, so what I meant to say is you just kind of grapple onto these stairs, you come up, and you make your way to the owl. I'm going to go to the right over here to 4-10, and immediately we are going to grapple hop across that red fence. And we want to climb this central black pillar as best as we can. Doing our best. We really want to... I think we've missed our time. We really want to make it onto one of those black beams that was moving around. As you can see, this level is definitely quite finicky. Didn't quite make it again. All right, making it onto here, we need to get across to this orange gear. We're going to make our way up this yellow one, then this blue one. Going across here, we're going to make an immediate jump. We're going to jump onto this blue gear, and then up here, we are simply going to... We are going to make our way to the top of it to reach the owl. And we'll go on to the next level. All right, so over here, we want to grapple. We want to head toward, like, have Sami right up against here, jump, and then ground pound against it, give Sami a lot of speed. Going to do the same thing again over here. And then right before we hit the wall, we are going to jump to send Sami flying. This is known as the squid method from Squid's Any Percent run completed 3 years ago at this point, with the recording year of this video being 2025. There are other methods of completing this level. I find that this is the one I prefer to use, but it's all about finding the right timing of when you're going across the ground, figuring out precisely when to jump to get that nice distance. You might not make it totally all the way across. If you're close to making it across, you might need to grapple over the wall. But the other thing to note is when you do make it across, you want to weave along the road to avoid the bumps on the side. Anyway, that's that level complete. We're going to go straight up to 4-12. This one is a very simple level. We're simply going to head to this corner, and from here we are going to make our way to this pillar using an edge boost. Going from there to there. Jump across, jump again, get a whole bunch of extra height. Try and weave between these minions, go between these birds, and we've made it to the owl. Unfortunately, the next couple of levels aren't going to be nearly so easy. Let's move on to 4-13. Here, what I like to do is to wait for the lava to go past those bony fences, and then I want a nice big ground pound to get me over to the other side there. There we go, managed to make it. Over here, I'm trying to wait for the lava to get beyond the start of this area. What you can also do here is at the checkpoint, simply retry. This will set up the area in a nice configuration. You come across here, make your way to this platform, jump across, and then you make your way to the corner to make a nice jump. You want to make this jump immediately. Again, we're going to jump to the next box. Jump onto land here. You want to hit this egg, and immediately we want to retry again. So we reset the level to a consistent state. You want to leave this over here and jump when we hit the ground so that we manage to make it over the lava. And from here, it's just a matter of avoiding the snakes, hitting these boxes, and making it across to the owl. Bit of a trickier level, especially the start. The second half, luckily, isn't too difficult. This is the last non-boss area. There's two different routes you can take here. I'm going to show the more consistent but longer mode that doesn't involve damage boosting. So one thing to note is that this fire machine does not reset between retries. So if I retry right now, its fire will start up differently than how it was at the start of the level. That's one thing to bear in mind if you mess up and you have to retry the level. But we make those jumps, we come across here. And what I recommend for new players to do is to come across to the checkpoint. Ideally, don't get hit by the fire. And after here, you want to go to that boost and make your way across this tiny little beam. The reason I recommend to get that checkpoint is it's very brutal if you mess up, say, over here, and you have to be reset all the way to the start. The more optimal route is just to avoid going for it. Like right here, I messed up, and so being over here saves quite a bit of time. So once again, we are going to head along this tiny little beam. And unfortunately, sometimes the dragon can be in a bad position like that. I'm just going to wait a little bit for the dragon. Okay, there we go. So jumping across, really want to hit this red jump right there. Now I want to head towards little beam at the top. Gonna do the same here. And then as soon as I let go and I go to that platform in front of me, I'm going to ground pound. And that way both of these balls are kind of confused about where I am and I don't have to worry about them. I want to make a humongous jump, come across, get onto this beam, and just follow it all the way through. And there we go. That's the regular 80% routing. I'll go ahead and show you what the other approach looks like, which just saves a bit of time in the beginning. So the idea is you want to jump on these pillars, and there are some spikes right there. Got hit by one of them. And the idea is to hit the middle of those two spikes. So I'll see if I can demonstrate that for you. There we go. That's what it looks like. Unfortunately, I hit the top. I'll try it again. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You can then ground pound. I'm just waiting out the flames. But otherwise, the rest of the level is precisely the same. You just kind of follow this through. Okay, moving on to 4-15. This isn't actually an Albert boss fight in here, but it is still a tower. So we are going to ground pound immediately, climb up this side of the tower. And then we're going to make our way across. Gonna make our way to this top area, ground pound, make our way up, just like that. The camera can make it a little bit tricky to judge precisely where you are, but finally we want to hold up to make our way to the question mark level. Now over here, there's no point in spamming buttons or anything. When the camera zooms out like this, that's when you can start spamming the B button. But what you want to do here is you want to head towards these fire machines as soon as possible. If Albert doesn't do his tentacle attack, you want to retry immediately. There we go. He's doing his tentacle attack. And whenever Albert does an attack, he'll be set in a particular direction. Afterwards, he will rotate to face Sammy before doing another attack. So what I like to do is to position myself very, very close to where Albert's facing. That way he only has to rotate a little bit and we can get to the next attack faster. There we go. Might be doing a missile attack here. Nope, a laser attack. Unfortunately, I got hit by it. Let's try it again. Okay, so in his missile attack, so I like to just kind of move out of the way a little bit. I got hit by his missiles, unfortunately, but it should be okay in this situation. Okay, so from here, almost certainly going to do his tentacle attack. Cool, that does it. Now I'm going to stay here again, doing his laser attack. It's never clear to me whether he's going to go clockwise or anti-clockwise, so I always just jump, just to be safe. All right, he might do his tentacle attack here. Yep, he is. Unfortunately, just barely missing. Ooh. I am probably... Oh, wow. Came very close to Albert himself. Okay, yeah. So when the missiles come, if you kind of do a little fake out, you can attempt to avoid the missiles. Right there, when the missiles are on you and Albert's doing his tentacle attack, it's definitely a bit of a pain to angle him up. But here, I'm going to hope and pray that he does his tentacle attack. Nope, he's doing his good old missile attack. Now, time ends when the tentacle destroys the machine. So when it's the final firebox, you always want to position yourself there so you can beat the game. But that's it. That's the 80% route completed. That's basically everything we're doing. There's a whole bunch of IL strategies that are just way too finicky to do consistently in a run like this. but these are a lot of the strategies that are safe and are effective and are actually used in runs today. So thank you all for watching. If you have any comments or questions, feedback, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Again, this is an unscripted video. I've edited this a bit, as you can see, but there are things that I may have missed out on or not clarified enough. So feel free to leave any questions below. There's also the Super Sami Roll Discord, which I will leave a link to in the video description. If you'd like to join, come and hang out, say hi. Totally cool. And if you want to ask questions there, we've got tons of speedrunners in there, very knowledgeable people that know what they're doing. So they can help you out with whatever issues you're having. And hopefully I see you on the speedrun.com leaderboards. Maybe you'll be climbing the ranks fast, make it into top 5, top 4, even top 3 maybe. But with that, I'm going to end the video. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and go out, have fun, grind the game, and I'll see you around.